At 66, Dan Blocker's son finally confesses what we all suspected.
What are we fighting about, Kino? I don't know.
For many years, fans of Bonanza have cherished Hoss Cartwright, the kind-hearted giant who brought both humor and warmth to the screen. However, the man behind the iconic role, Dan Blocker, led a life full of unexpected turns and hidden stories. Now at the age of 66, one of Blocker's sons has come forward to confirm a long-held suspicion about his father, a revelation that could reshape everything fans thought they knew. Before diving into these surprising disclosures, it's important to first look at the events that led his son to reveal these long-kept secrets. The arrival of the 14-pound star. While little Joe may have captured hearts with his looks and charm, it was Hoss Cartwright, with his gentle nature, who truly won us over. With an unassuming demeanor, endless kindness, and a heart of gold, Hoss became more than just a character. He became a cherished figure who embodied both strength and warmth. Dan Blocker, born Bobby Dan Davis Blocker on December 10, 1928, in DeKalb, Texas, made a grand entrance into the world, weighing an impressive 14 pounds. This extraordinary birth marked the start of a life filled with remarkable moments. Raised in the small town of O'Donnell, Texas, Dan spent much of his childhood working in his family's grocery store, where he not only helped customers with their bags, but also absorbed the core values of small-town life that would shape his humble and grounded character. By the time he was 10, Dan was already working alongside adults, hauling grain and laboring in construction. His strength was extraordinary, and he quickly earned the nickname the Big Un from his neighbors. By the age of 12, he stood 6 feet tall and weighed 200 pounds. Though some local toughs attempted to challenge him, Dan never lost a fight. After graduating from high school, Dan went on to attend Texas Military Institute, where he showcased his talent on the football field. His athletic prowess earned him a football scholarship to Sul Ross State University. By this time, he had grown into an imposing figure, standing 6'4" inches and weighing 275 pounds, a presence that couldn't be ignored. It was during these college years that a new ambition began to take shape, though he hadn't yet realized it. When the college drama club needed help moving heavy props, they called on Dan, whose strength made him the ideal choice. What started as a simple task soon led to his first acting role in a production of Arsenic and Old Lace. The experience captivated him, and he quickly became enamored with the thrill of the stage. As a result, Dan switched his major from English to theatre. Despite receiving offers to play professional football, he chose to follow his newfound passion for acting. His dedication eventually took him to New York City, where he began his Broadway career. Over time, his hard work and talent earned him a role in a production of King Lear, marking a significant step in his path toward Hollywood. But, as often happens, an unexpected turn in his journey was just ahead. After completing college, Dan Blocker transitioned from studying textbooks to wearing military fatigues, enlisting in the U.S. Army to serve his country. This shift, however, was not without its challenges. At over 6'3" inches and weighing around 300 pounds, Blocker's towering size presented unique obstacles for the military. It took a full month just to find boots that could fit his enormous feet. Once properly outfitted, he found himself far from home, thrust into the heart of the Korean War. By Christmas 1951, he was stationed on the front lines near Cheolwon, North Korea, with the 179th Infantry Regiment. As a combat infantry sergeant, Blocker's impressive strength and determination made him a formidable force in battle. Day in and day out, he and his fellow soldiers endured the brutal realities of war, facing freezing temperatures, sleepless nights, and the constant threat of enemy fire. For almost 7 months, Blocker fought through the horrors of trench warfare, with explosions ringing in the air as he led his men through some of the fiercest combat the war had to offer. One night, amid the chaos and gunfire, Blocker saw a comrade trapped and unable to move. Without a second thought, he charged forward into the line of fire, risking his own life to pull the soldier to safety. Although wounded in the process, Blocker's bravery earned him the Purple Heart, a decoration he wore with quiet pride. The brutal clashes on Porkchop Hill were among the most intense of the Korean War, a place where survival itself was a hard-won achievement. Blocker and his regiment fought relentlessly on the front lines, holding on to every bit of land in a region where each hill and valley came at a steep cost. It was a grueling ordeal, and after months of unyielding combat, Blocker was finally evacuated, his body scarred but his resolve intact. He was sent to a hospital to recover from the physical and emotional toll of battle. When he eventually returned home, he carried the haunting memories of war's brutal realities with him. Despite fighting honorably, the experience had deeply altered him. Blocker became a vocal critic of war, particularly military interventions based on force. Having witnessed the destructive consequences of violence up close, he became a fervent advocate for peace, decrying the horrors of war and the devastating impact of napalm. Upon his return from the Korean War, Dan Blocker was determined to leave the battlefield behind and build a life focused on family and purpose. He married his college sweetheart, Dolphia Parker, and together they raised 4 children, creating a loving home that offered him stability after the chaos of war. Although acting wasn't part of his original plans, fate had something unexpected in store for the towering Texan. In pursuit of a doctorate, Blocker relocated to California and enrolled at UCLA. What did Dan Blocker's son really say about his legendary father? Type 1 in the comments, then keep watching to find out if your suspicions were correct. It didn't take long for Dan Blocker's towering stature and undeniable Southern charm to capture the attention of Hollywood casting directors. At the time, Westerns dominated television, and Blocker seemed perfectly suited for the genre. His commanding presence and rugged good looks made him a natural fit for the tough, larger-than-life roles that Westerns required. Before long, he was being offered small parts in popular series. His journey began with minor roles in Western shows like Gunsmoke and Colt .45, where he infused each character with a unique warmth and humor. Throughout the 1950s, Blocker gradually expanded his acting career, appearing in well-known shows like The Rifleman, Have Gun, Will Travel, and Maverick. While he occasionally ventured into film, television quickly became his true passion. In 1957, he received his first major opportunity, landing a notable role in The Restless Gun. His performance resonated with viewers and led to even more career prospects. Shortly after, he was cast in the recurring role of Tiny Boinger, a goofy and lovable ranch hand on Cimarron City. This character showcased his natural comedic timing and hinted at the charm that would eventually make him a household name. It wasn't long before Blocker's breakthrough moment arrived. He was cast as Hoss Cartwright on Bonanza, a role that would solidify his place in television history and catapult him to fame. Dan Blocker's career took a major turn when he was cast as Hoss Cartwright in the popular television series Bonanza. This role would not only define his career but also make him a beloved figure in homes across America. Portraying Hoss, the kind-hearted and towering son of the Cartwright family, Blocker became a staple on television. Hoss was a gentle giant, not the sharpest member of the Cartwright clan, but more than making up for it with his immense heart and sincere kindness. Audiences, particularly children, quickly grew fond of Hoss's genuine charm and unwavering loyalty to his loved ones. For Dan Blocker, Hoss was more than just a role, it was a reflection of his personal beliefs and values. Influenced by the words of 18th century Quaker missionary Stephen Grellet, who urged people to do all the good you can, Dan infused this philosophy into Hoss's character. It was this deep sense of justice and compassion, traits that came naturally to Dan, that made Hoss's kindness feel authentic and endeared him to viewers. While Hoss was often depicted as simple and innocent, Dan himself was a thoughtful and intelligent man. Holding a master's degree in theatre, he had a profound appreciation for literature and philosophy. His portrayal of Hoss combined tenderness with a strong protective instinct, mirroring his own experiences as a decorated Korean War veteran who understood both the harsh realities of war and the importance of peace. Though his imposing size made him a natural fit for the role of Hoss, it was his gentle spirit that truly brought the character to life. Just 2 years into his acting career, Dan Blocker became a central part of one of television's most legendary families. Off-screen, he developed a strong friendship with his co-stars, Lorne Greene and Michael Landon. The bond between the three went beyond their work on Bonanza. Dan even stood as the best man at Michael Landon's wedding to Lynn No, highlighting the close relationship they shared. While Bonanza kept him occupied, Dan also dabbled in film, appearing in movies such as Come Blow Your Horn and Lady in Cement, alongside Frank Sinatra. Despite his rising fame, Dan remained deeply connected to his roots in the small town of O'Donnell, Texas. The people there were incredibly proud of the quiet, thoughtful young man who had transformed into a beloved television star, bringing joy to millions. Dan Blocker's portrayal of Hoss Cartwright on Bonanza catapulted him to fame, but he never actively sought the spotlight. His gentle nature and imposing stature made him a beloved figure on American television, yet he was uncomfortable with the attention that came with his success. While acting was his true passion, the constant public attention was something he struggled to accept. He would have preferred to pursue his craft quietly, but his natural talent and the affection of his fans made anonymity impossible. Though Dan appreciated his supporters, the loss of privacy became overwhelming. His large frame made him easily recognizable, and even a simple outing with his family could turn into a frenzy as fans eagerly surrounded him. On one occasion, a vacation to the Yucatan, meant to be a peaceful getaway, quickly became a public spectacle when locals instantly recognized him and called out to Hoss Cartwright wherever he went. Unlike many in Hollywood, Blocker had little interest in staying in the public eye. In 1970, Dan Blocker and his family decided to leave the spotlight and embark on a journey to Switzerland, inspired by the picturesque Swiss lake country he had seen in National Geographic. Captivated by the tranquil beauty of Lakes Como, Maggiore and Lugano, they felt drawn to the peaceful surroundings. For Blocker, the idea of living in such an idyllic place and escaping the constant demands of fame seemed like the perfect escape. It wasn't long before they made Switzerland their home. The family not only embraced the calm, but also discovered an exceptional international education for their children, who thrived in their new environment. However, rumors soon spread about the real reason behind the move. Some speculated that financial issues were behind the decision, but Blocker quickly shut down these rumors. He clarified that his success on Bonanza had made him financially comfortable. Instead, his desire for a life of privacy, far from the pressures of Hollywood, was the true motivation for relocating abroad. In Switzerland, Bonanza was broadcast in German, which created a welcome language barrier for Dan, allowing him to enjoy the tranquility of his new surroundings without the constant interruptions of recognition. The Swiss countryside provided the peace he had longed for, far removed from the spotlight. Despite his fame, Dan remained grounded and humble, always mindful of the privileges his career had granted him. He often expressed concern for those facing hardships, particularly underpaid teachers who he admired deeply. Reflecting on his own success, he once remarked with a touch of irony, "Let's face it, I sold out for money." Though he occasionally considered returning to teaching, his role as Hoss Cartwright made it nearly impossible to step away from the fame and public life that defined him. In the 1960s, the Bonanza cast and crew frequently traveled for filming, taking them to various locations, including the racially segregated southern United States. Despite the growing momentum of the civil rights movement, deep-seated prejudice still prevailed, with many hotels, restaurants, and theaters refusing service to African Americans. During one of these trips, the Bonanza team arrived at a hotel, only to be told that their African American members would not be allowed to stay due to the hotel's discriminatory policies. The cast and crew were shocked and appalled by this injustice, and Dan Blocker, known for his kindness, took a firm stand. Without hesitation, he declared that if the hotel would not accommodate everyone, then none of the cast or crew would stay there. Dan's statement wasn't a mere ultimatum, it was a firm commitment. In that moment, he demonstrated that his sense of justice extended beyond his on-screen roles. It was a core part of who he was. Dan Blocker's commitment to justice was as immense as his physical stature. Beneath his warm and gentle nature, he harbored a deep disdain for bullying and oppression. In a 1964 interview, he succinctly expressed his feelings. "I hate a bully worse than anything. I'm a big man, I don't like fights. But if I see a 180 lb guy beating on a 130 lb guy, you can damn bet you I'll take care of the big guy in a hurry." Dan understood the power his size gave him, but he viewed it not as a means to intimidate, but as a responsibility to protect others. His bold stand against racial discrimination on Bonanza speaks volumes about his character, showing how one individual's actions could challenge injustice and change the status quo. Dan Blocker, a gentle giant with a heart for justice, he stood against bullies and injustice. To honor Dan Blocker's commitment to doing what's right, comment D below. Let's show our respect. In addition to his imposing frame and kind spirit, Dan Blocker was also famous for his legendary appetite, which matched his larger-than-life personality. Those close to him were often in awe of the sheer amount of food he could consume. Each day began with a breakfast that would overwhelm most people: a dozen eggs, 2 loaves of bread, and 2 quarts of milk. As the day went on, his meals would consist of mountains of meat, potatoes, and more bread, finishing off portions that would leave others astounded. Dan's appetite was, without a doubt, a subject of much admiration and astonishment. True to his Texan heritage, Dan Blocker had a deep fondness for hearty, home-style meals. One of his favorite indulgences was a whole roasted ham, which he could easily finish off by himself. While he wasn't particularly interested in fruits and vegetables, he had a well-known sweet tooth, especially for cakes, pies, and cookies. His passion for satisfying meals even influenced his business decisions. Dan became a co-owner of the Ponderosa Steakhouse chain, a tribute to the iconic Cartwright family ranch on Bonanza. The restaurant offered the kind of generous, filling fare that Dan adored, and as a co-owner, he enjoyed the benefit of free meals at any Ponderosa location. Even as Dan enjoyed the perks of his fame, he was keenly aware that maintaining Hoss Cartwright's iconic image required some discipline. The pressures of Hollywood meant balancing his passion for food with the realities of show business. To stay in shape for his role, he would cycle through strict diets and rigorous exercise routines. However, the lure of his favorite dishes often proved too tempting to resist. His emotional connection to food, combined with the endless availability of meals on set, led to frequent fluctuations in his weight. By the later seasons of Bonanza, the constant ups and downs took a physical toll on his body, and he had to rely on padding to maintain Hoss's larger-than-life appearance on screen. Still, Dan's appetite remained legendary. The cast and crew marveled as he devoured meal after meal with unflagging enthusiasm. Off-camera, Dan's love for food continued to amaze those around him as he out-ate everyone in the room effortlessly, without a hint of slowing down. In the early 1970s, as the Vietnam War stirred political unrest in the United States, Dan Blocker made a major life decision. He and his family left the tension of American life behind, relocating to the peaceful, picturesque countryside of Switzerland, seeking solace away from the chaos. Even in his new home, however, Blocker's commitment to Bonanza remained firm. He frequently traveled back to the US to continue working on the show, determined to bring Hoss Cartwright to audiences who had grown to love him. But as the series neared its final seasons, Blocker's health began to decline. He was diagnosed with gallstones, a condition that typically requires surgery, and he underwent what was believed to be a routine procedure to remove his gallbladder. At first, the surgery appeared successful and his family was relieved, believing the worst was over. However, in an agonizing turn of events, Blocker suffered a fatal complication: a pulmonary embolism, a blood clot that tragically took his life. The news of his sudden passing sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, leaving his family, friends, and fans in deep grief. Blocker was remembered not only for his imposing physical presence and lovable on-screen persona, but for his genuine warmth, kindness, and the joy he brought to his role as Hoss. Tributes from co-stars and fans flooded in, honoring his legacy and the heart and humor he had shared through his iconic character. In the wake of Dan Blocker's untimely passing, a curious and bizarre story began to circulate, one that would captivate the public's imagination for years. Was Dan Blocker buried in a piano box? The tale seemed as larger than life as the man himself. Known for his imposing size, weighing over 300 pounds, rumors quickly spread that only a piano box could accommodate his massive frame. This narrative grew and evolved, blending truth with myth, and for some it seemed almost fitting for a star of Blocker's stature. However, the real story is much simpler. Dan Blocker was buried in a standard casket at Woodlawn Cemetery in Santa Monica, California. The piano box legend, though vivid and even somewhat comforting to those who admired him, is purely fictional. It arose from Blocker's unique presence and the affection people had for him, but it remains just a colourful myth without any basis in reality. The sudden death of Dan Blocker on May 13, 1972, left an irreplaceable void, not only for his family and friends, but also for the Bonanza cast, crew, and legions of fans. As Hoss Cartwright, Blocker had been the emotional core of the Cartwright family, offering warmth, humour, and a genuine kindness that made him beloved to viewers. His towering presence and compassionate spirit had left a lasting impact on the show, and his absence left a hole that no one could fill. With the final season of Bonanza on the horizon, the cast and crew faced the difficult challenge of moving forward without their heart and soul. Hoss was central to the show, and his loss posed a significant problem for the series. Several ideas were floated to address his departure, from dedicating an episode in his memory to gradually writing Hoss out of the storyline. Ultimately, the producers made the courageous decision to directly address Dan's death within the narrative. This allowed both the cast and the audience to mourn together, paying tribute to Blocker's life and giving fans a heartfelt goodbye to the character of Hoss Cartwright. After Dan Blocker's death, the responsibility of writing the first episode of Bonanza without him fell to Michael Landon, who played Little Joe. Landon opted for a subtle, poignant approach, allowing Hoss's absence to resonate through the silence and unspoken emotions between the Cartwright family members. The original script had centered on Hoss's romantic storyline, but in light of Blocker's passing, Landon rewrote it to reflect the deep grief of losing a loved one without explicitly mentioning Hoss's death. Landon believed that the power of silence could express the profound loss in a way words simply could not. On set, the absence of Dan was tangible. Filming that first episode without him was an emotional experience for the cast and crew, who found themselves sharing stories and memories of the man who had brought so much joy and warmth to their lives. The familiar Cartwright dining room, once filled with laughter and camaraderie, now held a somber, bittersweet atmosphere. Every corner of the set seemed to echo with Dan's presence, and although the production continued, the sense of loss was felt deeply in every scene. After Dan Blocker's death, Bonanza struggled to maintain its former appeal. The show, which had already seen a slow decline in viewership, began to lose its magic more rapidly. NBC, in an attempt to salvage the series, moved it from its prime Sunday night slot to a less favorable Tuesday night position, where it faced stiff competition from ABC's Movie of the Week, which offered popular films like Brian's Song and Ben-Hur. As a result, ratings continued to drop, and despite the cast's best efforts, recapturing the charm of the early seasons proved nearly impossible. In its final season, the show felt noticeably different without Hoss, whose heart and humor had been central to its appeal. Viewers began to drift away, and after 14 seasons, Bonanza was officially cancelled by NBC in 1973. This marked the end of a TV era, though Dan Blocker had anticipated this fate long before it happened. He had openly discussed the inevitable conclusion of the series, recognizing that its success couldn't last forever. With rare insight, he predicted that the sheer number of episodes and rising production costs would eventually make the show too much of a burden for the network to sustain. Dan's passing became a turning point in Bonanza's legacy, forever dividing it into two distinct periods, the years with Hoss and the years without him. Although the show remains a beloved classic, the void left by Blocker's absence was undeniable. Hoss had been the heart and soul of Bonanza, and without him, the warmth that had once defined the series was lost, leaving a sense of longing for what had once been. Growing up with Hoss Cartwright as his father, Dirk Blocker was profoundly influenced by Dan Blocker's towering presence and the lasting impact of his untimely death at the age of 43. This loss shaped not only Dirk's personal life, but also his career path. While he followed in his father's footsteps into acting, Dirk was determined to pursue a life away from the intense fame that had surrounded Dan. Reflecting on his upbringing, Dirk acknowledged how witnessing his father's constant public attention had made him wary of stardom. He remembered how his father could never go anywhere without fans gathering around, eager to connect. For Dirk, the idea of being a character actor, someone who could perform without the overwhelming scrutiny of fame, held far more appeal. On May 13, 1972, tragedy struck when Dan Blocker, beloved for his warmth, humor, and immense talent, passed away unexpectedly following what was supposed to be a routine gallbladder surgery. A complication caused a pulmonary embolism and he died at Daniel Freeman Hospital in Inglewood. The suddenness of his death rocked Dirk to his core, leaving him to face a grief so profound that it drove him to immerse himself in work and daily life, seeking solace in the routines around him. Though he appeared outwardly composed, the loss of his father, who had been his greatest mentor and pillar of support, weighed heavily on him. As the years passed, Dirk gained a deeper understanding of his father's legacy. He came to recognize that Dan Blocker was much more than just a celebrated actor. He was a man of principle, passionate about justice, deeply committed to political causes, and known for his generosity, which left a lasting impact on many. Dirk found great inspiration in how his father lived his life, maintaining his sense of humor even in difficult times and staying true to his values despite the challenges he faced. What FBI found in Gene Hackman's mansion will leave you shocked.
Connection, the conversation, Superman Gene Hackman has died at the age of 95.
The FBI agents were unprepared for what awaited them upon entering Gene Hackman's residence. What they uncovered within the estate of the renowned actor left them astonished.
Bodies of the Hollywood legend and his wife, Betsy, were discovered in their New Mexico home.
Known for both his cinematic roles and enigmatic personal life, Hackman's legacy now raises numerous questions about secrets that may have lingered for years. Was the discovery linked to an ancient enigma, a concealed fortune, or something far more sinister? As additional information emerges, the public is left pondering the true nature of Gene Hackman beyond his on-screen persona. Stay with us in this video as we delve into the specifics of the startling find at Hackman's residence. A shadow of doubt has enveloped the deaths of the two-time Academy Award-winning actor Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa, following the discovery of their bodies in their expansive Santa Fe, New Mexico home. Initially, officials stated there were no indications of criminal activity, with early accounts pointing to carbon monoxide poisoning as the probable cause. In a surprising development, however, authorities have since deemed their deaths questionable and initiated a comprehensive inquiry. The startling find was made by two maintenance employees. As outlined in the search warrant, they arrived at the residence to perform routine tasks and noticed the front door was ajar. Meanwhile, two dogs were spotted roaming freely on the property. Further suspicion arose when a deceased canine was discovered inside a crate, leaving detectives puzzled. The advanced state of decomposition and mummification of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's remains made it clear they had been deceased for an extended period before being found. After searching the house, authorities located Betsy Arakawa in the bathroom. She was lying on the floor near a counter, scattered with pills and an open pill bottle. This raised questions about whether she had succumbed to an overdose, suffered a medical crisis, or if something more sinister had transpired. A seasoned investigator described the scenario as unusual, stating, "It just doesn't make sense to me. I've dealt with thousands of death cases during my career, and it's highly irregular for two individuals to die simultaneously, without a significant underlying cause." When federal agents arrived on the scene, they were reportedly taken aback by the state of the remains. Someone with inside knowledge of the case described their reaction as utter disbelief, stating, "You expect to see bodies in this line of work, but this was something else entirely. The level of decomposition, it's almost like time had frozen inside that house." Some officials questioned how a celebrity of such stature and his wife could remain unnoticed for such an extended period, while their bodies deteriorated inside their residence. Investigators believe the autopsy results will be crucial in determining what truly transpired. At this stage, they're exploring all potential causes, including natural death, accidental circumstances, or even foul play. Gene Hackman, who passed away at 95, was among Hollywood's most celebrated actors. He earned Academy Awards for The French Connection and Unforgiven, starring in more than 80 films throughout his career. Many fans recognized him as Lex Luthor in the Superman franchise or from the Royal Tenenbaums. Film analysts commended his seamless transitions across drama, action, and comedy. One historian noted that he brought authenticity to action films, delivered emotional depth in dramatic performances, and showcased sharp comedic timing in movies like Get Shorty. His versatility was remarkable. Hackman stepped away from acting in 2004, citing concerns about his health. His final public appearance at an awards ceremony took place in 2003 when he accepted a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Golden Globes. The last time he was seen in public was in 2023, spotted with his wife outside a restaurant in New Mexico. He appeared frail, relying on a cane and holding onto his wife's arm for support. News of his death sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Actress Gwyneth Paltrow, who starred alongside Hackman in The Royal Tenenbaums, honored him on social media with a heartfelt tribute, posting a photo of them together accompanied by a broken heart emoji. Following the discovery of the bodies, the New Mexico gas company was called in to investigate the possibility of a gas leak, as early speculation suggested carbon monoxide poisoning. Investigators aimed to eliminate potential safety hazards, but after a thorough inspection of the gas lines, the company reported no issues. The case remains under active investigation as authorities gather evidence and await the results of autopsy and toxicology tests. Officials have reassured the public that they are committed to uncovering the truth behind the tragic and mysterious deaths of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa. What exactly occurred during their final days, and could the unusual circumstances surrounding their passing point to something more? Comment number 1, and let's delve into the unanswered questions and theories surrounding their deaths. The remains of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa exhibited signs of desiccation, prompting numerous inquiries about the duration they had been there and the circumstances surrounding their deaths. Some speculate it could have been due to natural causes, an accident, or even a self-inflicted act. Others ponder whether something more unusual might have occurred. Upon arrival, deputies noticed the couple's front door was wide open, sparking concerns about whether they had left it ajar themselves, perhaps because they were feeling unwell, or if someone else had entered or exited before law enforcement arrived. Inside, Hackman was discovered in a small room close to the back entrance, appearing as though he had collapsed with a cane and sunglasses lying nearby. Arakawa was located in a bathroom on the opposite side of the house, where a space heater had tipped over and pills were strewn across the counter beside an open prescription container. The couple's home was also occupied by 3 pets. 2 of them were found alive, while the third was discovered deceased inside a crate. The survival of the 2 dogs suggests that food or water may have been available for some time, but the dog in the container likely suffered from starvation and dehydration. This supports the theory that the couple had been dead for several days or even weeks. Experts note that extended exposure to warm, dry conditions can cause the skin to become stiff or leathery. Since this process usually takes days to weeks, it indicates the couple had likely been deceased for an extended period. While it's unclear how warm or dry the home was, the presence of a space heater near Arakawa suggests that heating was in use, potentially accelerating the drying process. However, without further testing, the exact time of death remains undetermined. Authorities have officially ruled out carbon monoxide poisoning after fire department officials and gas company personnel found no evidence of a leak, a conclusion that was later reinforced by the autopsy findings. Additionally, there were no signs of forced entry and neither body displayed visible injuries. Despite this, investigators are considering all possibilities. Some theories suggest that one individual may have taken the other's life before ending their own, but there are no immediate indications of violence. In such cases, people often leave notes or deliberately arrange their surroundings, neither of which appears to have occurred in this instance. An alternative theory suggests the couple may have decided to end their lives together, potentially motivated by health issues. In such scenarios, individuals often take an overdose while beside one another, but since Hackman and Arakawa were discovered in separate areas of the house, this explanation seems inconsistent. It's also conceivable that one of them passed away first, whether from a fall, illness, or overdose, and the other succumbed shortly afterward, unable to handle the loss. If Hackman fell in the mudroom, Arakawa might have found him and reacted by ingesting pills in a state of distress. However, this remains speculative until toxicology tests clarify whether any substances played a role. Another potential explanation involves environmental factors, such as severe dehydration or exposure to a harmful substance. Investigators are now reviewing the couple's medical history to determine whether pre-existing health conditions could have contributed to their unexpected deaths. With no definitive answers yet, authorities are examining every possible clue. The tests on their remains could take weeks or even months to complete. In addition to forensic analysis, police are scrutinizing their phone records, emails, and recent medical appointments to identify any unusual activity in the days leading up to their deaths. Some have speculated about the involvement of a third party. While there were no indications of forced entry, the open door raises questions about whether someone else had been inside. However, it remains uncertain whether this individual was a visitor, an early discoverer of the bodies, or someone with harmful intent. At this moment, the cause of death remains undetermined. Whether it was a tragic mishap, a deliberate choice, or something entirely different is yet to be clarified. Until medical examinations offer further insights, speculation will persist about the true events surrounding Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's passing. However, with so many lingering uncertainties about their deaths, could the perspective of a close friend or family member provide fresh clarity on what truly occurred? Stay tuned to learn more. Investigating the carbon monoxide theory. Gene Hackman's daughter has suggested that carbon monoxide poisoning might have been the cause of death. On Thursday, Elizabeth Jean Hackman told TMZ she believes toxic fumes could have played a role in the tragedy. A local gas company has confirmed its involvement in assisting investigators as they work to determine what happened. Leslie Ann Hackman, another daughter of Gene Hackman, spoke to the Daily Mail following her father's passing. She noted that despite his advanced age, he remained in excellent health. She emphasized that he showed no signs of serious health problems leading up to his death, which is why she suspects a gas leak or carbon monoxide poisoning may have been a factor. In her words, even at his age, he was in great shape. She also pointed out that he had not undergone any major surgeries in the months before his passing. Leslie shared that her father stayed active by practicing Pilates and yoga several times a week, which helped him maintain his health. While she acknowledged that his passing at 95 was not entirely unexpected, she found Betsy Arakawa's death at 63 far more puzzling. Describing their marriage as deeply loving, she remarked, "I believe Betsy played a big part in keeping him going." She expressed gratitude for how much Betsy cared for her father and ensured he remained in good health. "Betsy took very good care of him and was always watching out for his health," Leslie said. "For that, I am really grateful to her, and I'm very sad that she's gone." Elizabeth is one of the 3 children Hackman had with his first wife, Faye Maltese. The couple was married from 1956 until their divorce in 1986, and Maltese passed away in 2017. Hackman went on to marry Betsy Arakawa in 1991. Following his departure from Hollywood, he maintained a private life, rarely appearing in public. He did make an exception to attend a comedy show in the same city. Gene Hackman's daughters, Elizabeth and Leslie, along with his granddaughter Annie, are grieving deeply over his death. With profound sorrow, we share the heartbreaking news of our father, Gene Hackman, and his wife Betsy's passing. While millions celebrated him for his extraordinary acting, to us he was simply Dad and Grandpa. His absence leaves a void that no words can adequately express, and we are utterly heartbroken, stated Elizabeth, Leslie, and Annie Hackman in a message to people. Many prominent celebrities are paying tribute to Gene Hackman's enduring legacy, including Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman. Eastwood, who both directed and starred alongside Hackman in the 1992 Western Unforgiven, shared his heartfelt thoughts. "No actor was more talented than Gene. His performances were always real and powerful, never anything less than perfect," he said in a statement on February 27. He also reflected on their personal bond, adding, "More than that, he was a close friend and I will miss him deeply." Comment H below to honor Gene Hackman's legacy and send love to his family during this painful time. Let's fill this space with tributes to a man who gave us unforgettable stories, both on screen and off. The loss of Gene Hackman continues to be a shock to many, but his impact on the film industry remains undeniable. How did he transform from an ordinary man into one of Hollywood's most revered actors, leaving behind a legacy that will be honored for generations? Stay tuned for more. Gene Hackman's iconic career and enduring legacy remain unmatched. He launched his acting journey at the prestigious Pasadena Playhouse in California. Despite his peers' low expectations and their belief that he had the least likelihood of succeeding, Hackman remained undeterred. Instead, their doubts fueled his determination to prove his real talent and potential. It was during his time at the Pasadena Playhouse that he formed a close friendship with Dustin Hoffman, another celebrated figure in Hollywood. In the early days of his career, Hackman struggled to secure acting jobs. Despite attending numerous auditions, he was repeatedly rejected due to both his appearance and acting style. However, he refused to give up. Undeterred by setbacks, he continued to work tirelessly, performing in theater productions and taking on minor roles, steadily improving his craft. His perseverance eventually paid off when he started landing small parts in television shows and films. His first movie role came in Lilith, but it was Bonnie and Clyde that truly launched him into the spotlight. His portrayal of Buck Barrow, Clyde's brother, was both powerful and deeply moving, delivered with natural ease. The performance was so well received that he earned an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. This breakthrough allowed him to transition beyond supporting roles, establishing him as one of Hollywood's most promising new talents. A defining moment in his career came in 1971, when he played Popeye Doyle, a determined and relentless police officer, in William Friedkin's The French Connection. The crime thriller depicted him as a tough yet morally conflicted figure navigating a dangerous world. His remarkable performance earned him an Academy Award for Best Actor, solidifying his status as one of Hollywood's leading figures. The film was a major success and influenced many future crime dramas, further cementing Hackman's reputation as a powerhouse in the industry. Following The French Connection, Hackman persisted in embracing pivotal roles. In 1974, he collaborated with director Francis Ford Coppola on The Conversation, portraying Harry Cole, a surveillance expert grappling with guilt and isolation. This character allowed Hackman to delve into profound emotional layers, and the film earned a nomination for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Critics lauded his performance, hailing it as one of his most remarkable. Throughout the 1970s, he appeared in numerous iconic films, including Scarecrow, where he shared the screen with Al Pacino. The movie delivered a poignant narrative about friendship and solitude, with the undeniable chemistry between the two actors amplifying its impact. In 1978, Hackman ventured into an entirely different type of role, portraying Lex Luthor in Superman alongside Christopher Reeve. He infused the villain with wit and cunning, transforming Luthor into one of cinema's most memorable antagonists. This portrayal demonstrated that Hackman excelled not only in serious roles, but also had the ability to captivate audiences with humor and charisma. As Hackman's career soared to extraordinary levels, he continued to take on legendary roles. However, behind the scenes, did the pressures of his profession and the passage of time start to affect his well-being? To uncover more, continue watching Gene Hackman's silent struggles and health battles. In 1990, a particularly demanding year in his career, Hackman starred in Loose Cannons, Postcards from the Edge, and Narrow Margin. However, behind the scenes, he also faced a serious health scare. At age 60, he underwent an angioplasty, a procedure in which a small balloon-like device was inserted to clear a blocked artery near his heart. United Press International reported on the surgery that same year. "We treated him just in time," Dr. Herbert Semler told UPI. "Luckily, the blockage was in a spot where we could easily reach it with a balloon catheter and open it up." According to UPI, Hackman had been experiencing chest pains that radiated down one of his arms while traveling in Oregon. Doctors determined that he was just hours away from a heart attack when he received medical attention. Dr. Semler further stated that Hackman had no prior history of heart disease and that the blockage was simply a result of aging. During a 2004 CNN interview with talk show host Larry King, Hackman discussed the procedure. When King inquired if he had felt afraid, Hackman responded, "No, not really. I didn't fully grasp how serious it was at the time, so I suppose that's why." He added, "It all unfolded very quickly. I went in and returned home the same day." King then questioned whether he had concerns about his health. Hackman answered, "I do my best to look after myself. I don't have many fears. I think we all contemplate death, particularly as we age. My primary worry is ensuring my wife and family are taken care of. Beyond that, I don't harbor many fears. In a 2009 interview with Empire, Hackman disclosed that his health significantly influenced his decision to step away from acting. The doctor informed me my heart wasn't in a condition to endure stress, he revealed. In retirement, he found happiness in activities like horseback riding, fishing, painting, and enjoying low-budget films with his wife in New Mexico. He co-authored 3 historical fiction novels with archaeologist Daniel Lenihan and independently wrote Western and crime novels. Writing carries a different kind of pressure, he noted. It's something you can manage because you're by yourself, rather than having an entire film crew awaiting your performance. In addition to his heart condition, Hackman experienced a serious accident in 2012 when he was struck by a vehicle while cycling in Islamorada, Florida. According to the Florida Highway Patrol, the then 81-year-old actor was not wearing a helmet when a pickup truck hit the back of his bicycle. He was airlifted to Ryder Trauma Center in Miami for treatment. However, Hackman's spokeswoman later clarified to Reuters that the impact was relatively minor. She explained that he was flown to the hospital primarily due to the remote island location. Despite the initial concerns, he suffered only minor bumps and bruises and was discharged after a short hospital stay. Gene Hackman's final days, new clues emerge in a deepening mystery. The death of Gene Hackman, a Hollywood icon whose career spanned over 60 years, has become a labyrinth of unanswered questions, blending elements of a forensic puzzle with the haunting echoes of a life lived in near seclusion. New details revealed through pacemaker data, environmental clues, and the absence of external trauma have further complicated the narrative surrounding his and wife Betsy Arakawa's deaths, leaving investigators and the public grappling with a case that defies easy explanation. According to data retrieved from Hackman's pacemaker, the actor likely died on February 17, 2025, 9 days before maintenance workers discovered the couple's bodies in their Santa Fe mansion. This timeline aligns with the advanced state of decomposition observed by authorities, described as mummification due to the dry, heated conditions inside the home. The revelation deepens the mystery of why the couple's absence went unnoticed for over a week, despite Hackman's status as a 2-time Academy Award winner. Neighbors reported not seeing the pair for weeks, and the couple's reclusive lifestyle, marked by minimal social interaction, likely contributed to the delay in discovery. Yet the open front door, 2 surviving dogs roaming the property, and a third deceased in a crate remain unexplained anomalies. Autopsy results confirmed no external injuries on either Hackman or Arakawa, ruling out blunt force trauma or signs of a struggle. Carbon monoxide poisoning, initially suspected due to the presence of a knocked-over portable heater near Arakawa's body, was also eliminated after tests returned negative. The heater, found in the bathroom where Arakawa lay surrounded by scattered pills and an open prescription bottle, raises questions about whether its malfunction contributed to environmental stress, or if its position was incidental. Investigators remain cautious, noting that while the heater's presence does not directly implicate foul play, it underscores the need to explore whether extreme indoor conditions such as overheating or dehydration played a role. Hackman's health history adds layers to the investigation. At 95, he had survived a heart scare in 1990, undergoing an emergency angioplasty to clear a blocked artery and a near-fatal cycling accident in 2012. His family insists he remained active, practicing yoga and Pilates until his final years. However, the pacemaker data suggests a sudden, irreversible event, possibly cardiac arrest, while Arakawa, 63, was found in a bathroom scene that hints at a medical emergency or overdose. Toxicology reports, pending for weeks, will be critical in determining whether prescription drugs or other substances were involved. Like this video? Great. Subscribe for more. Hate it? Well, a like would be nice anyway, and let me know what went wrong in the comments. The open front door remains a focal point. Authorities theorize it could have been left ajar by the couple themselves, perhaps during a disoriented state, or by an unknown visitor who entered or exited before the bodies were discovered. The lack of forced entry complicates theories involving an intruder, though the possibility of a trusted individual gaining access has not been ruled out. Meanwhile, the survival of two dogs, despite one perishing in a crate, suggests the couple may have been incapacitated for days, unable to care for their pets. Hackman's legacy as a chameleon-like actor, capable of embodying roles from the gritty detective Jimmy Popeye Doyle in The French Connection to the comically villainous Lex Luthor, contrasts sharply with the bleakness of his final chapter. Friends and colleagues, including Clint Eastwood and Dustin Hoffman, have mourned his passing as the loss of a genius and dear friend, while fans reflect on a career that redefined cinematic storytelling. Yet the circumstances of his death, marked by isolation and unanswered questions, have cast a shadow over his storied life. As the investigation continues, the absence of a suicide note, defensive wounds, or clear evidence of third-party involvement leaves room for speculation. Could Hackman's pacemaker failure have triggered a fatal arrhythmia, with Arakawa succumbing to grief or a secondary crisis? Or did environmental factors, compounded by age and health struggles, create a perfect storm? Until toxicology results and digital forensics, phone records, emails are analyzed, the truth remains elusive. Hackman's daughters, Leslie and Elizabeth, have emphasized their father's vitality in his final years, crediting Arakawa for his well-being. Betsy took very good care of him, Leslie told reporters, highlighting the couple's devotion. Yet the bizarre scene investigators encountered, a Hollywood legend and his wife dead in separate rooms, a home in disarray, and pets left to fend for themselves, paints a portrait of lives interrupted by forces yet to be understood. The case has drawn comparisons to other high-profile mysteries, such as the deaths of Brittany Murphy and Simon Monjack, where sudden, unexplained passings in secluded homes sparked endless conjecture. For Hackman, whose career was built on portraying complex, morally ambiguous characters, the ambiguity of his death feels almost fitting, a final, unresolved act in a life steeped in storytelling. As Santa Fe authorities piece together the fragments, the public waits for answers. Was this a tragic accident, a hidden ailment, or something more sinister? For now, the mansion on the hill stands as a silent witness, its secrets guarded by time and the enduring enigma of Gene Hackman. Dan Blocker's life reminds us that true greatness comes from within. His legacy as Hoss Cartwright shows that kindness, strength, and a sense of justice leave a lasting impact, both on and off screen. It's not the fame or size that defines us, it's how we treat others and stay true to our values. As we remember Dan, let's carry that spirit forward in our own lives. If you enjoyed learning about Dan Blocker's journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more inspiring stories right here on Iconic Inside. You won't want to miss our next video. Trust me, it's one you'll want to see. Check out the video on the end screen to keep the momentum going.